Reboot, remix, requel, legacy. Who said legacy?
Cash. It's cold hard cash. Easy cash.
Cream. Cash rules everything around me.
Yes, please. Not the right person to be doing a Wu-Tang Clan to.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
We're here to talk about legacy sequels, and I know there's plenty of YouTube videos already of being like, gosh darn it, these are bad.
Yep.
But we're coming at a different angle. This is our legacy sequel, if you really think about it. We're coming in with a different approach to our reviewing.
Ain't that clever? Except we're not making billions of dollars.
No, we never will. This is $0 budget. It's going to stay that way. But we're going to talk about some good ones to start. Then we're going to talk about two specific, really bad ones, even though I kind of like one of them. And then we're going to look at 4 legacy sequels. One that you guys are not going to expect.
Yeah, I didn't. He told me. I'm like,
But yeah, and we'll talk. You know, that's what we do. I don't know. I have to explain that we talk.
How the show works on like episode 800 or something.
Everybody around the world, every major studio is rebooting all their franchises and hoping that they become sequels, 18 million sequels, so they can catch up to MCU, they can catch up to the Fast and Furious.
And just make money on top of their money. And I guess audiences like it because we keep paying for it.
Audiences do like it, but I am here just like worn out because I'm tired of franchises. I love Marvel. I love the Fast and Furious movies, but at a certain point, things got to stop.
Just chill out. Just take like 5 years off and reboot it. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, you got to stop. And I know corporations, they see me saying that and say, no, we don't.
That's not how the world works, unfortunately.
Obviously, last year was Top Gun Maverick, 2022. Blew everybody away. The new one's good, but
it's amazing.
I don't really like the ending, and I don't like how they changed a few things from the original one. Like, you know, the last one, like Val Kilmer's very playing his character as if it's a gay character.
Right.
And then in this one, it's like ambiguous. Nothing. So it wipes away things that made the original great.
The underlying like theme almost that no one talks about. Well, YouTubers talk about, but
everyone
not Tom Cruise.
Letterboxd definitely talks about
it.
Yes. But then also you have like Blade Runner 2049 and the Creed trilogy, which I think take the original idea and hold true to it and keep it, but just for a new audience.
Right. Which is, I guess that's what they should aspire to.
Yes.
On top of having a good story to tell, and you have a filmmaker that is very passionate about it. All 3 of those have very talented filmmakers attached to them, and do those more. If you're going to do a reboot instead of the other 4 that we're going to talk about.
Horror is probably the only place where legacy sequels are like, you can't, I mean, they're always going to do them.
Yeah. I
mean, Nightmare on Elm Street, Jason,
they've been doing it before. It was cool.
Yeah, but Dr. Sleep is another one that's a legacy sequel. That a lot of people, I don't know, it's kind of mixed because they were like,
yeah, it's okay.
It wasn't Kubrick. And it's Mike Flanagan.
It's great.
I think people over time will realize that's a good one. So those are the good ones. They're great.
Yeah, I like them a lot.
Yeah. Now 2 bad ones, and they're both trilogies. First one is Halloween. We have talked about it quite a bunch on this channel. We reviewed all 3 of them.
Yep, that was one of the first reviews I did.
Yeah,
the first reboot.
And I remember when we did our review, you guys really kind of liked the first one.
Yes, which is interesting because that's how I feel about Star Wars as well.
Yeah,
right? I was like, man, I have hope. Like it's pretty okay. It wasn't awful.
Yeah.
And then I don't know what happened.
They just went down in flames. I don't understand what their plan was. If it was to like kill the franchise, they did it.
Success.
They did it.
Good job, guys.
But then also you have Jurassic World, which, you know, your enjoyment may vary on each of the movies. If you can't separate the original Steven Spielberg Jurassic Park in your brain from what this new crap is,
Yeah.
then you can't enjoy it.
Which is what I said earlier with Spielberg. Obviously, he's like one of the best directors of all time. Very passionate about the subject, and then you give it to someone who's like, yeah, I'll make what the studio wants and make what $2 billion or something at the box office. You give an indie filmmaker a $300 million check. I wouldn't know what to do with it.
Exactly.
But
if they gave me $300 million to reboot a dinosaur movie, I might bring some locusts. I don't know.
Yeah, what else are you gonna do? Like, Spielberg perfected it. I guess we'll throw Chris Pratt in there.
Clones! Now we get to the 4 examples, I think, of where the future of legacy sequels are going to go. And what I mean by that is they're just going to be controversial in terms of like one side really likes it, another side really hates it. There's no in between. And no greater place to start, Zach already mentioned it, is the Star Wars requel trilogy.
Yep.
Force Awakens, obviously everyone loved, but there was a small consensus that were like, it's just the original.
It's the New Hope again, which like at the time, these new movies made me less of a Star Wars fan. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, like I loved Star Wars as a kid, and then once I had like tears in my eyes. Yeah. I'm dead serious, and I was like, yeah, it's pretty good. And then everyone was like, yeah, it's the New Hope. I'm like, oh, yeah, it kind of is, and that's where it kind of crumbled. Like they just redid it again. And don't know what to do with it because it made $2 billion at the box office, and Disney's like, get this out as fast as possible. And we got 2 technically movies that.
The Last Jedi, JD loves it. JD loves it.
It has its moments.
For me, as a non-Star Wars fan that has seen all the Star Wars stuff, it's great to see just like how people see these movies because I'm indifferent to all of them. But The Last Jedi, obviously, broke Reddit.
It did.
Reddit still broke today because of it.
It's not the same anymore.
Yeah, and then obviously Rise of Skywalker. Everyone hates it.
Trash.
There's a few people out there that like it, but this is the problem with legacy sequels: is you are hoisting yourself up, trying to match the original movies, which Indianapolis Jones is about to do, and I don't know if he's gonna get there, so we'll see. And you can't make it that high unless you're like a Blade Runner 2049.
And you completely, like, you almost redo it, like, as a reboot should be, instead of, like, kind of treading the same thing. But again, I'm not a Hollywood executive who's, looking at the shareholders and, like, how much money you're supposed to make. Like 2049 is a huge risk because that wasn't even a box office hit in the 80s, let alone like
it was a bomb both times.
It was a bomb. yeah, bombed again. But like we still talk about it because it's wonderfully made. Top Gun is a really rare exception. I'm going off track.
That's fine. So Star Wars requel trilogy. That's old news. Everyone knows it sucks, and part of the reason why everyone's mad at Disney for Star Wars because they're just like flanderizing Star Wars, and people hate it.
Yep.
Rightfully so. Next, I want to talk about Ghostbusters because we're getting a movie later in 2023. They did Afterlife. I think it's a good movie. I think it's a perfect ending to what they started in the first 2 movies and the video game. And to end on Afterlife, I think would have been perfect. I remember saying in the review, I was like, I don't want any more Ghostbuster movies.
And then cha-ching, cha-ching. They made like I think it was like $600 million in the pandemic.
Yeah.
Like they're gonna make another one.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm worried for the future of Ghostbusters because this is my movie. This is the movie I grew up on. It's my Star Wars. So if they ruin it,
you're coming after.
Who am I anymore?
Yeah. What is life? It's that's funny. I'm the way with the Ghostbusters as you are Star Wars. I'm like, I like them.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll see them. I'm not emotionally connected to anything, but yeah, I'm numb.
Now, this is the one you guys aren't expecting. So, Psycho was a great movie. Amazing.
Yeah, Hitchcock, man.
Yeah. And obviously the studios were like, well, we can't just let this sit here and not do anything without some sequels. So the 80s come around. Ring, ring. Oh, wait, we have a phone.
Oh, yeah, you got an actual 80s phone.
Ring, ring. Anthony Perkins is here, and he's like, hey, how much are you going to pay me for the Psycho sequels? I'm in. And so he made Psycho 2 and 3. I can't remember if there's more, but they are schlock. They are B-movie trash. And in some ways, it's like, yeah, that's great because it's the 80s and that's what the 80s was known for. But at the same time, to go from Psycho to Psycho 2, people were just like, their brains exploded.
And I wasn't alive at the time, but I don't know if they were, obviously they were hits because they made 3 of them, 3 sequels, but they're the reboots before reboots were a thing.
Yeah.
And cool and hip.
Psycho 2 is probably the first real, like, I'm sure there's someone will probably like fact check this and be like, this from the 60s is actually
you stupid. Did they wait for Hitchcock to die to make this?
I think that's what happened. And so
that sucks.
Yeah. Which perfectly leads into Matrix Resurrections because Lana Wachowski killed the Matrix before they could even make any more legacy sequels.
Is that confirmed?
No, that's what everyone believes.
I want to believe that too, because I'm under the impression that they were going to make it without the Wachowskis, and then the Wachowskis were like, no. Yeah. Like we're going to do this, and then they just sabotage it. I get it.
Yeah.
It still sucks, but
yeah, I mean, that's the theme of this is like legacy sequels, for the most part, are going to be divisive. And so you really have to come at it the Creed way, in that you hold true to the original. You don't deviate too far, because if you deviate too far, you get Matrix Resurrections, which I enjoy because it's very much, it plays like, oh, I'm killing the thing I love most. Or you go Ghostbusters way and you stay so true to the original that you do not deviate whatsoever. That's the Ghostbusters Creed way. Or you go Star Wars Matrix Resurrections way.
There's a sweet spot where, look at Top Gun, Creed, Blade Runner. Mm-hmm. Like, you get a filmmaker who is passionate, a story to tell that's original, but also within the same universe, I guess. And you strike gold.
Yeah, but it's really hard to do these days, and Warner Brothers is probably learning it first, because obviously Matrix is under Warner Brothers, but also the DC is just crumbling in front of our eyes. I think just like how the comedies of the 20s. The 20s. I think
there's some Charlie Chaplin up in here.
Hey. I think the comedies of the 2000s died because of how many they did.
Yeah.
And what's happening with legacy sequels, it feels like we're getting 4 or 5 a year at this point. And at some point, I don't know if Indianapolis Jones is going to, I don't know why I keep saying it that way.
Because it's silly.
But if Indy fails, I think that's the first ringing of the bell to be like, hey, maybe we should slow down on legacy sequels.
It's doing the Police Academy situation.
Yes.
Where you just keep making more and more and more until one of them fails and then they die.
Yeah.
So.
Or you go the Fast and Furious way and you just keep making them regardless of what people say.
And people keep seeing them. It was sold out when I saw it.
Technically, Spider-Man No Way Home is a legacy sequel.
Right, and then there's this whole new one where it's multiverse stuff. Where now that's getting annoying, yes. Where every movie is a multiverse movie and you kind of cheat your way into reboot, like putting Michael Keaton in a Flash movie. We'll see where that goes. I mean, it didn't do well, so
no. I think most people are going to reject multiverse movies. After the next Spider-Verse one comes out, I think people will reject it. Deadpool's obviously going multiverse.
Right.
But Deadpool's character in the comics travels the multiverse. So that's not really a problem.
And it's also that's going to be I hope they go for a parody.
They
better make it a parody. Cuz it's ripe for it, but
I think they should do a legacy sequel to The Unbearable Lightness of Being, starring Daniel Day-Lewis.
That sounds let's go My Left Foot. Let's make a My Left Foot universe.
Let's just do a whole Daniel Day-Lewis legacy sequel.
That would be awesome. Where it's him as FDR instead of Lincoln. I don't know.
Bill the Butcher comes back.
Yeah.
Even though he's technically dead.
He's got 2 glass eyes now.
Yeah.
Un esercito di prodi